Let me jump out of our agenda here for a second. Danny Carnes is here. He's done the building project and working down on the Riverside development. So if you want to come on and speak to us, sure you can.
Thank you.
And he wanted to be your citizen expression, didn't make it, so we can allow you to come and speak to us. We appreciate you coming.
Sorry about being late. I got on a phone call about 7:30 and lost my place to get here. A couple things I just want to tell you guys is that you know, we're really diligently working and trying to figure out, you know, it's not just whether it's a pretty place, that helps, you know what I mean? But there, you know, you have to assess challenges that you might have. And, you know, Frida accurately pointed out that in Scott County and likewise in Wise, that for your all's average income, it's amazing what y'all do on scores. Just really, that's just, you blow it out of the water for the, if you look at average income in the state of Virginia and for what your test scores are out of your students, it's just amazing what Virginia's able to pull off with, and not having necessarily the same amount of resources that other places have. So that's a good thing that y'all got that. And I think that if you didn't have that, I don't know what would happen. Hopefully, and I know that there's probably north of 400 kids that I understand crosses the border of Tennessee into the school system, because that helps you all, because you've had population decline, you know, and so, but that, I said, well, that's just neat that people would want to do that, but there's a double-edged sword to that. So if I'm living in Hawkins County, Tennessee, and I'm making $60,000 a year, think about this, and I don't think I'm too far off. If I could live in Hawkins County, say I had a home, it's $210,000. So let's just assess the value of the home. And we do an average of, you know, your personal vehicles is 1.7. If you average them at $20,000, you know, we try to just use the averages. Well, it's a little shocking when you look at this is, and I'm not going to bring you a problem that later I'm not looking for a way to resolve it. Okay, so I'm not coming up to drive it down as much as facing the facts of where we're at. Do you know that same person could stay over there in Hawkins County and put their kids in a good school system that they want to put them in, a more local feeling school, not so large as Gate City or Twin Springs, and you know, as Rita said, at one point there's 3 of them undefeated. You know, I remember you saying that. That's pretty good for little bitty old schools that don't have all the resources. So when you get through with just going through the state tax, everything like that, when you come out of Virginia and Tennessee, out of Hawkins County, there's a difference of roughly $4,000 on that person. So you follow that on down, even property taxes in here is $300 more than it is in Hawkins County, just the property taxes. So you come out, well, what's the swing? For it's $4,000. That person, after they get through their adjusted gross income and get down into Virginia and Tennessee, this person's got $46,000 left over, and the other person's got $49,444. Well, somebody making $90,000 a year, and their taxes would be a little bit more, they're not impacted as much as the people right at this level because they're trying to meet the essentials. So I say all that not to give dread or anything like that, but we have to face where we're at. And as I think I was talking to one of you, maybe you, Dan, was, you know, just trying to look for ways to incentivize, and I call it boundary equalization, trying to fight the boundary, you know, and still give people the kind of things that they need, because we are setting on a boundary, and how to equalize that. There's a lot of different ways that I've sort of been thinking how we might be able to do that. I know it's going to take some other commitments I have to get from one of the big producers to do certain things too, but I will be back in time to speak with you all. But I just think you have to start facing, what are we facing? Put it on the board, be real about it. It's okay, how do we overcome that? And I was choosing, I'd just go across the border in Hawkins County. If it was all things equal, and I want my kids here, because that still leaves me with $4,000 more disposable. I mean, no taxes except for sales tax on those dollars to spend, and that's a huge amount of money for most people. People forget that. That's a lot of money. And so I say all that to say, also I wanted to commend you all on trying to look for another inspector. I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know that was coming. And I would just encourage, if there's a chance when they can, is to maybe go electronic as much as they can, because you can FaceTime now and do things where the inspectors don't have to run back out at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon when they've got something, particularly something that would be allowable. I mean, there's certain things that you have to put your eyes on. But just give some thought to that. I know they have software for that, but I don't know that it has to be heavily software driven. Maybe it's just FaceTime on certain things that nobody be tricking them about. You know what I'm saying? And it won't be us. We're the guys that just does the infrastructure, that inspectors won't be crawling on us as much as they will a home, as it would be in any other state. So I say all that to say that I'm glad you all are looking ahead on that. By the way, the lady that was here, Jessie, that was presenting from whatever that organization is in Duffield, she is an incredible lady. That lady, our son, Carl and I's son, is 41 years old, and he is mentally challenged. And she was over that organization that helped him. And let me tell you something, she was an incredible day in and day out, good and bad. She's an incredible gal. I just barely got to wave at her. I just want to, for whatever it's worth. I've seen her right through the middle of it, and you get to really know people when you got a child that's mentally challenged. So I just want to say something positive about her. One other thing, I got a call yesterday from a group that I think we didn't know that they could come into Virginia, because the way it was set up, it would go to Northern Virginia. This particular little thing would be started in Northern Virginia. They're in Tennessee, but it started in Northern, and so I was able to make a phone call to another guy that I met 15 years ago, and I said, hey, look, would you call over and tell him to go across the border? I knew he knew these people in this corporate office that he could call, so I said, because there's someone that is going to call that is a franchisee, is going to call and just see if they let us talk to them. I said, well, you got to wait for them to come all the way down from there. I said, that's almost like you can find God sooner than that. That's a long way away. And so it's nothing's done, but at least we're starting to get a little movement. And I think we'll start talking with this gentleman, and of course with John and all that. But I don't want to set expectations. I just want to, at least we didn't get a no. They're wanting to talk, and they're going to let them cross if we can work everything else out. So, and it's a little thing that would just fit really neat in one of the spots, and that almost nothing else would fit. So hopefully that'll work out. That's something encouraging. We have another little thought going on down the floodway that may be able to work. We're looking at that. Kind of didn't think about it till I was talking to another guy about something he was doing. I said, well, you're doing that? So why don't we think about that over there? A way to use it, and maybe in some kind of capacity that I never had thought of, because I always floodway, I think on soccer field or whatever, you can't do anything in it. But this might actually, it possibly could work. So don't want to get too far down the road. That just sort of happened by accident, talking to somebody. You get out here and you're talking, and so maybe somebody tells you that'll work, well, we might work over here too. So, and so as we get through all this, the double-edged sword is, as I said, the convenience is that we're close, but it's also the disadvantage of being so close to that border across there. And I'm not doing that to say, well, we're not going to make it, but I've got some thoughts how, that as we develop them, how we might be able to come back in on it. And as you and I was talking, that some municipalities, I think there's 41 I've read up on, that they look at things like very creative, like if you have somebody come, it's got a W-2 that will come and live there, what the value of that person sitting down with a W-2 that they bring, I think I recorded 41 cities that has got different programs that they incentivize people to come. Now, it's not a freebie, it's tied to some things, but there's some thoughts like that that maybe we could think about that would jump people across the border. Just everything that we can do, because I know we can't change, we can't change the base, the tough stuff, but maybe there's some creative ways that we could overcome that. So, just tell you, just last night I worked on this particular sheet and some other stuff until my wife was out with her friends, her prayer group friends, and so I just took the time for about 3 or 4 hours to try to work through some of this stuff to see what our challenges are, you know, and I knew they were there, I just never put them to paper, but also, like I said, looking at your school systems and things like that, those are an advantage, but as I said, if I had a choice, if I just want my kids over here, I'd jump across the border and save me $4,000, you know, so, and that's not all the challenges and it's not all the positives. There's plenty more positives that we talk about as we get into this. You know, Wise is a different animal. We're working with them, and even Leno Wisco, we met with them last week, trying to look at how to do something with a RIFA. I mean, I've read up more stuff on Virginia, and I've also found out there's a lot of no's, but there's some yeses. So we got to try to unpeel those yeses to see what we can do, and hopefully soon. If we get close, I think Terry has been so far really good to get us with the Virginia Housing Secretary. You might have been on that meeting. Frida was there when we talked to Ryan with he's a Virginia, the secretary appointed by the governor of Virginia. Didn't we meet with the guy?
I don't think I did.
I'm sorry. I'm still getting new with all the names too.
You're doing well with it.
I thought you was there for you. But anyway.
Maybe I was in body.
I think you were. No, that was David Rose.
Yeah, I was in that one.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
From Davenport.
So I've been on the phone with David Rose from Davenport in 3 different instances, trying to pick his brain to see what can be done and what can't be done to overcome. And because usually, if everybody works together, you can kind of think outside the box, and at the end there's a nice win for everybody. Because think about a house; it don't get up and move. Commercial has an evolution going on all the time, but a house, once she set down, she don't move for 70 years. And the problem with thinking about it in terms like that is, you people are charged with 2 years, 4 years. Freedom, maybe 30, 40, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say?
We're hoping.
You know what I'm saying? You're charged with that time span, so it's harder to get people to think what a house does. A home, built pretty well, don't require you to come back and hardly do anything to get back to it. It just sends that check every month, every year, and without much cost going back into that house. Like you might have to go back, I heard you about paving the roads. You might have to go back and repave the road. Hopefully you don't do anything with sewer that's set these days for 70 years or 80 or 90 maybe. You know, Kingsport, there's places where I know they've got something still 100 years old. That's probably needs to be worked on. But except for, you know, police and those kind of things. But it's amazing what a resident that's got a W-2. I don't mean against anybody that don't have a W-2. I've never had one, by the way. I've always worked for myself, for cars. So, but people that have W-2s, what they get up and go do, and what they're committed to do, they have to make that payment, have to go to work every day when they don't feel like it a lot of times, like all of us. And so, I think that just a house, I think it was said by John Campbell, he studied something in college, he said, they said it's 70 years before you hardly have to go back and get much money back to the house. And so if we build them right and build them correctly, hopefully, you know, we can get something going. And hopefully this other little thing, well, it won't be really little. Hopefully I'll have some news on that in a month or so. Yeah. I was glad it was not negative, you know, because I was so aggravated when he said, they start the way they're doing their legal, they're starting in Northern Virginia, and I said, oh, goodness, come on. Called this guy, said, oh, please, just let him look. And he said, well, I'll call my buddy, see if he'll. I've known this guy through the Billy Graham organization, by the way, maybe 18 years ago, and I knew that he was in a position where he could at least call over and tell them out in the Midwest. He did, and so it helped us at least take a look at it, see if we get the numbers to work. So hopefully we'll have something good to announce.
Something you said there about incentivizing people to come, and I don't know, at the county level what we could do, I don't know, but the state level, there's stuff they could do to get them on board.
Yeah.
You know, to give people a reason to come and give them something that they can't get there, they get it here. So I don't know what that would be, but anyway, to look at something, how to incentivize people to come.
But it ties, most of them do a good job of doing this. You can't just come in and get it. See, it's tied to a time span. Like let's just assume some of them I read is anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 that they were doing through different means. But what you couldn't do was take advantage of that. You had to stay there 5 years. You couldn't, if you didn't stay, it was a pro rata.
Right.
So nobody could take advantage of it, which is a good thing. I even thought, well, why would it be that you put a longer term on a resident that's not a first-time home buyer? Let's just say, and they also offer, a lot of times those same cities offer, or small municipalities, however they do it, they offer it to even first-time home buyers. But I even thought, well, what if I was 61 like I am, and I wanted to do that? Maybe I'd be held up for 10 years. But then what they say that does, it recirculates another home into the community because that person already lives in the community and they move there. You see what I'm saying? It opens up another home for somebody to come to. So that's far more than you probably want to hear, but you have to go into it pretty deep to understand how it wouldn't look right to the public if you did certain things. And you try to make it where you show the game and prove the game. So, because I know y'all are elected, and some are it's at the discretion of the boards, but and you have to look for ways that other communities are doing it and it's legitimate, for people who get up and go work every day. Any questions?
Denny, I want to just thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
For coming in and speaking to us, and to let you know that we're very aware of the last number we got was 625 out-of-county students in Scott County that don't pay tuition. And if you've done your research, you know that if our students go to Tennessee, it's $10,000 plus. We have tried to get other boards and legislators to understand how that could hurt us. But for a fresh voice to come in here that's pretty impartial, I appreciate that very much. I talked to a grandfather that has 4 grandkids coming over here from Hawkins County. Mm-hmm. And he said, but we're bringing money into you. But if you look at our county budget, look at the school system budget, we get less money. He was talking about federal money coming in. We get less money from federal government than we do into our school system from local and other sources, and state, local and state. Local and state, we're paying taxes.
Yes.
And I've had friends tell me, I paid for my house by living across the line. And I hope this doesn't hurt what we've got planned with you, because maybe, like I say, if some fresh voices come in, we all understand this, we've all discussed it.
Yeah.
But
I honestly understand why you would keep, because probably on overhead, you know what I'm trying to say, on overhead, I'm not saying what should be done, but it probably helps on overhead to fill more of the rooms up. If, I don't know, I mean, I wouldn't say that I think that if I were the ones in the education department, I don't know that I might not agree, but what it does is you're penalized as a Virginia resident.
yes.
That's the only thing but there may be still another game that I'm not aware of.
Maybe there is, but I don't understand it either. And I was in education 40 years.
I'm sorry, I didn't. I just act like I don't know.
He's from Princeton, Gate City, and Rocco. He's been around.
But for every student that comes over, we pay around $10,500 a year.
Yeah.
Okay,
Same
say we
26.
get all this money back, where does it go? It goes to educating kids coming across the line.
It does.
So anything that we can do, well, I hope anything that our board will do to help you, we've certainly talked. I try to avoid talking about it because I've talked till I'm blue in the face, trying to help people understand that we need to charge some admission fees, some tuition or something, and I'll just go ahead and say it. But
Yes.
thank you very much.
Yeah, my only point was, if I was them, that's what I would do, because
I
I'd be just
understand,
looking at
but
my $4,000. I don't blame, if that avenue's open, you can't blame, I'm not blaming anybody for doing that. I'm just saying, but it puts me, this organization and this partnership at a little bit of a disadvantage when they, because I jumped across the border. $4 more thousand dollars, let me tell you, $4 more $1,000 at that level of income,
It's a lot of money.
it is really, we just forget what that's like
Yes,
sometimes.
over a number of years.
Yes. Think about that, $4,000 for 18 years, put that in for your child's education cost, that almost get two of them.
Yes, but
You start to get
but
that.
I think Danny will say we'll work with you as much as we
Absolutely.
can as a board of supervisors.
And I would say, it's gonna be real unique thinking, and I've got some thoughts. And we can all decide, I think together, if the overall impact is, because I'm not coming over here to lose, I want to win. I want to try to find a way to win, and I also want to try to make a living out of it. I don't want to, I said this, and I repeat myself, I'm afraid I think you slapped it, but you can't do this for just your heart. You got some of you may not know, but we stopped in Big Stone Gap coming out of Harlem, because I had to go back to Grand Bank, every day. So my wife said, well, would you please go to Big Stone Gap? So she could come see her mother. And we stopped there, and let me tell you something, there's a church called East Stone Gap United Methodist Church that just took care of us, was kind and gracious to us, put up with me and all of my antics and everything, and was just great to us and helped us get that springboard start to getting that first little tape made with Billy Graham, and Carl went and sang in Bullitt Park. And we were recording in the studio. We had $1,232. We were going through a really, really rough time. I won't belabor that, because a bunch of things happened outside my control that helped us get back. She made it in Wise, Virginia, in an 8-track studio in a trailer for $1,232. We got this little rough album out. The Billy Graham people, they had was there with sort of like an understudy, like Franklin's, and they were doing a thing, and just so happened one of the head people, Billy Graham, just had to come to that one for some reason. Heard Garland, that we got to sing, start working with Billy Graham, and we literally just went to see the world after that. I mean, Singapore. I mean, that's as far as away you can get from East Tennessee and not get closer, and so, going through those things and through that time, I still haven't forgot how hard a lot of times it is for people to get on their feet. But Southwest Virginia embraced us, was good to us in so many ways. Every time we lived in the house, seemed like somebody said it. We moved to 3 places in Big Stone Gap. Then we moved to Wise on Old Cobra Mountain Road. Then we moved to Mount Virginia, trying to get our way back there. And then she made that little Christmas album for $500 or $530, and she was singing "Sweet Little Jesus Boy" with a cover on because dogs were barking outside. So, but you know what? Just out of those little starts like that, we were able to pull back and get going again, and get the wonderful opportunity to work with Mr. Graham. I mean, that's like, you can't make that happen. In 2 or 3 years, and get to sing with him in San Antonio and get to meet Ruth, and so we've been blessed. And I think that's what I have to be careful about, because I care about Southwest Virginia, And I mean that. And I mean, and I don't mean that I'll always be easy to deal with, because I'm trying to figure out a way. But, because when I go on the chart, we try to get after it. But I also don't want to get caught up here with my emotions. And because even one of my advisors said, man, you need to start narrowing in on an answer. Because you've been up there running around, I mean, I'm still working a lot over on the other side of the border, but you've been up there just going everywhere. I'm in the People's Inc. Try to talk to them, how do you do maybe a new market tax credit? Well, that probably don't work. So I've searched everywhere trying to look, how do we, what I call boundary equalization. Because I know we got a little fight here, and I'm gonna try to find a way to bring back suggestions to you all, and hopefully at the right time, I told Terry at the right time, it might be a time that we might need to sit down and talk to the governor when it's right, but I'm not ready yet.
Right. Danny, I'd like to thank you for coming also with a fresh voice and for the unique challenges, that face you and us in our county, and so that our people can see these challenges, and hopefully we can bind our prayers together when we work through this.
Yeah.
We're here to try to help, and for this property that's been there for quite some time, and we'd like to see something positive, as you very well know, and I'm glad to see you taking a great interest in trying to make that happen, and trying to, you're looking for some positives,
Yep.
and that's what we're looking forward to, and try to overcome those negatives, and I think we're here to help you. Yes.
I just think that it's free, it points out, if your test scores, and I started looking them up, it's amazing with what our average income is here and what y'all are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Same in Wise County. Some of the other counties I've checked having a more tough time, but or is it Southwest Virginia? Not all of them, but y'all are amazing what you're holding up so far. I don't know how you're doing it. But if you don't re-put people back in the system that are gainfully employed to reseed the system, eventually, if we don't figure that out,
It goes away.
and they're going to quit being, at some point, I think Richmond's going to quit feeling sorry for us.
They've tried to before.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm trying to say? I mean,
Yeah, I understand.
we need grants, but grants is only to hopefully get something started.
Right.
But we need something to sit here to keep churning
Yes.
for a long time. And hopefully, that'll be a big challenge, and I don't make a prediction of it, but I'll tell you this, we will give it our best go.
That's all we can ask. If we can help you any way here, let's do what we can.
I've just got one comment. You've
Yes.
moved around a lot. You might end up in Scott County.
Well, you did this strange because we like to go eat on Thursday nights down to drive-in. The campus drive-in. We brought Carla's mother on her 89th birthday, and she loved it. And so every time, because we kind of like that. I mean, it's back. It is like being back in Big Stone Gap. It's a revisit, kind of back to it. It's a we've been there 4 or 5 times, and then we've been up to the Hobnob. Yep. And so, yeah. I mean, I told her, well, there is a place that I have looked at, but I don't know if it'll work or not. Though.
Good luck with it.
It's on the river. So, but she wasn't opposed to it. She said, you're right, it is beautiful. And it ain't too far away. So,
Appreciate you coming.
all right, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. She called my wife and said, you should have let Reverend be your friend. See you guys.
See you. Our next item is the ARPA project approval, Ms. Sarnes.
The ARPA committee met last week, and we've got a couple projects for you to consider. The first one is an administrative telephone system from E911. We're still, Tammy has been out on medical leave, so we're still needing one more quote or two on that, but up to $7,040. IT needs 7 new switches, $34,796. And IT Cisco Umbrella, that's just another level of security for cyber attacks that we currently don't have, $4,040, and EMS payroll support, $105,000. On the EMS payroll support, you funded $180,000 earlier this year, and they have about $4,000 remaining in that. So on our calculations, we think $105,000 will get us through this fiscal year for EMS payroll support, and then we can take a look at that in the next budget. So total of the 4 projects, $150,876. And you have all the details from each project on your tablet if you've had a chance to take a look at those.
All right. After the last meeting, Ms. Crook and Ms. Addington and I met with a couple of folks from our county EMS people, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know. They try to be as self-supportive as they can, and there's so many issues they've got with reimbursement from Medicaid, Medicare, the insurance companies, and so I don't know. The Washington County is actually taking over their EMS. I don't know what cost that would be, and I hope that never happens here. But anyway, this needs to be done, and so I don't know where this ends up. I don't. I mean, it's just so expensive to operate EMS, and they're paid now, and very few volunteers. A few, I'm sure, but it's not like it used to be.
It's cheaper for the county to let them operate
Yeah.
and us supplement
Yeah.
than it would be for us to take them under our umbrella.
Yeah. Like I said, Washington County's done that, and it's millions. It's costing, no doubt, to do that and to make them county employees and all that stuff they've gone through. But anyway, this amount here, another $105,000 to them to get them through June 30th. Any discussion before we vote on these ARPA projects?
What's happening, Manny, that they're having so much trouble collecting their money now?
I don't know, but it's the reimbursement amount. I think is the problem too. I think he said they'll spend $600 on a call and he get $192 reimbursement. And Medicaid, especially Medicare, too, I don't know how. I'm not sure how that works, but they just not reimbursing like they used to reimburse, and they keep cutting back on what they will pay for transport. The hospitals too used to, when I was with Scott County Life Saving Crew, and we had advanced life support unit, we had a lot of medication and IV stuff, and we would go to the hospital and they would resupply us what we used, then they'd bill the patient. They don't do that anymore. And you have to buy your own drugs, you have to buy your stuff. They do have like the linen and stuff, sheets, stuff like that was changed with them, but so many things have changed now on how they operate, and it's not like it used to be. Because used to everything we use, I don't care if it's a nasal cannula, oxygen, whatever, they didn't supply oxygen, but they would everything with that. And they don't do it anymore.
It's almost like a two-edged sword. I mean, they used to get out and with the buckets and do fundraising and things like that, and they don't do that anymore. Maybe send out some letters and things like that, perhaps. I don't know, maybe.
Eddie, is the regional jail still a factor when you talk to them? Are they still, I know that's Duffield mainly, but are they still having problems collecting from other counties?
We didn't discuss that, but I don't think they've ever resolved it. Duffield's even, if they haul a Lee County or Wise or City Norton, prisoner, they're eating the cost of it.
Well, ultimately what
It was, I'm assuming it's still like that.
ultimately what it seems like it's going to boil down to is it being put on at the local level on our people. That's been floated around, and that makes it, I guess it's where it's a double-edged sword. When Medicaid, Medicare doesn't pay, what they used to pay. They're not upping their ante as like everything else is going up, and so that puts the extra burden on the EMS people.
Well, it's not enough to reimburse the cost, I can tell you that. It's not.
Yeah, well, the soaring, gasoline prices and things like that, and.
Something I did ask about private pay, and they bill the people that don't have insurance,
Right.
and they do, and they don't use collections to try to go after them. And I'm glad they don't. I mean, it's just so expensive. But back in the day when I was involved we had 72 volunteers in Scott County Life Saving Crew. 72. And so you don't have that now. There's a few, I think, they work, and most they're paid. And so it's just not like it used to be. And I don't know what's going to happen with their fire departments one day when if they're get to where they don't have the volunteers they have to serve. So I don't know. It's just people don't have the time. People working 2 jobs to pay their bills, and they don't have time to volunteer like they used to do. So I don't know.
you know, during, when we was talking about this during the ARPA committee, you know, I brought up maybe maybe 3 months ago, you know, that we need some sort of committee to be formed, just to look at it. And I still feel like we need to form some sort of committee, and I'm willing to be on it. Bill said he was Frida. I'd like for Sally to be on it if she had time, and maybe Amy, because she deals with, she knows where this money's going, she knows it. And then we could get together, you know, ask questions, get all the numbers together, try to figure it out, because if the county had to take it over, I'm not gonna say there's no way, but it would be millions and millions of dollars. You know, I've heard of towns taking theirs over just in the recent years, and it was well over, it was in the millions of dollars that just a town spent. So, but if we could form that and then get our numbers together in time for the next budget time in June, and have that all hopefully sorted out, because because if we don't do something, we're not going to have EMS for sure.
If you think about it, was 160,000 we gave them, this is another 105,000, so that's 265,000 we've given them. We've given them to operate for a year. That's in addition to what we're already giving.
Well, that 160 or 180?
180.
180, yeah, that's right. 180.
That basically lasted a year. I think I can't remember when we done that. It was either January or February.
But that's in addition to what we're already budgeted to give them.
Right.
Budget.
Oh, yeah.
And when this ARPA money runs out, then that's, you know.
So we need to have a plan together, because, well, I mean, we're not gonna have, we may not have enough money to do this again. So we've got to figure out this. I sort of remember whenever we first done it, we was gonna use that as a example to sort of see how that was gonna affect them. But I feel like we need to look at the EMS and the fire departments both, and if we could form that committee.
That's on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry. Why didn't you stop me before I started?
You're on a roll.
He's on a roll. Don't do that too
Is
good.
there anything that Kilgore could take and have Medicare, Medicaid paying more?
Well, that's a federal, probably not. More group, maybe his office could help us with it. But it's like, I'm on board with the clinic today. Again, the same thing there. The reimbursement amount doesn't cover the cost. And so, and even there, we get these huge grants to operate that clinic, you know, to cover for it, because it's they have a sliding fee where they pay according to their ability to pay. So we can operate without those huge grants that we give there.
So does anyone else we can reach out to besides?
Well, like these federal grants that come in over there, I don't know, that might be something they could look at to be more grant funded through the federal government, where, you know, they're not getting the reimbursements from, you know, the amount to cover the cost.
I just can't see how that's really an oversight, because people are sick and people need an ambulance, and there's fires, you know, and the inflation factor of the fires, and the prices of everything going up, and then they're paying the same as, or maybe even less than what they paid before.
Well, healthcare, I mean, it's expensive. We all know that, and you transport people. Just the fuel costs have gone through the roof, and we all know that. You know, and his vehicle replacement. You know what's
what Jeremy's talking about. You know, with a committee or something.
We'll look at that and see. We'll go to you in a few minutes. But,
I didn't realize.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Let's go ahead and do this on this ARPA project. Approve. Any other discussion? We're not entertaining a motion to approve this amount, $150,876. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Hurd made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Jeter, second. Any discussion? All right, vote saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Next item is item 16, which we removed that from the agenda. Next item 17, the Virginia Department of Transportation bridge abandonment. We've been asked to put this off for another month. Folks need to speak, can't be here at it, so if we And they were spoke to since expressed that it had been, but anyway, let's put that off until the January meeting if everybody's okay with that.
Yes.
All right. Next item is the CHA agreement. Ms. Starnes, if you would. It's on your tablet. Go ahead.
The CHA agreement is included. This is for the landfill monitoring that we do this contract with them every year. The cost is $61,000 and it is already in the budget. This was just sent to us recently to execute the document. So just need approval to sign and get that sent back to CHA.
I make the motion that you sign it.
Second.
Ms. Hood made a motion, Mr. Bricky second. Folks, I'm gonna tell you, I don't think this will ever go away on that landfill. It's $61,000, but it's gonna be something that, I don't know how many years down the road it'll be going on, but it'll be a long time. Landfills are expensive, even after you close it. So, all right, we have a motion by Ms. Hood, second by Mr. Bricky. All in favor, vote saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Next item is item 19. This engagement letter, Ms. Starnes, if you would.
This has been approved by you previously. We are using the City of Harrisonburg's procurement language for this contract with Baker Tilly, and it is to do a salary survey for all county positions, and it should be completed before the next budget year is finalized. So I just need authorization to sign the agreement. And I believe everyone had discussed previously of using ARPA funds. $16,600 is the total contract amount.
Do we have a motion to allow her to sign this agreement?
So moved.
Ms. Atkins made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Tipton, second. Any discussion? All in favor, vote saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Next item is item 20. Weber City has requested a building fee waiver. That's what some stuff they're doing down there. We always do that. Then the car department, I don't see an issue with that. But anyway, do we know the amount? Does anybody know the amount? Ms. Starnes?
I talked to David this morning, he said, all in all, probably about $400
Okay.
for everything.
And we do
He
it
gave
for
me a
church.
sheet here, but that was just for part of the permits. So he said that was for $162.69. He said to make it for about, when he gets all the permits together, everything's gonna be around 400 is what David told me this morning.
They'll put form of a motion to approve that. No waiver. Mr. Jeter made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Tipton, second. Any discussion? All in favor, vote saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Next item is item 21. Nationwide Group Flexible Purchase Payment Deferred Fixed Index Annuity Contract. Ms. Starnes, diagnosed.
That's on your tablet.
Yes.
It's an agreement with Nationwide that we use for deferred compensation, and it will allow them to set up a annuity where as you get closer to retirement, you can move your money to a safer environment outside of the market. So the agreement's on your tablet. If you've had a chance to look at that, we just need authorization to get that signed and executed, and it's no cost to the county.
Okay. Does the employees take advantage of that deferred comp?
They do.
Most of them. Because I did, it's a good deal, you know, it is, and so hopefully they will. It's, I've done it for a long time, and I work for the state, but anyway, it's a good deal. All right, we need a motion to allow Ms. Starnes to proceed.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Tipton made a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Hearn, second, any discussion? All in favor, vote saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is item 22, bookkeeping. Ms. Vickers.
Please accept and establish Fund 23 for Phelan Hollow Water Project CDBG grant as follows. 023-101 for Phelan Hollow Water Pro Cash in Fund. 023-200-102 for fund balance 3-23-32010-1 for funds received 4-23-81600-3100 admin expenses and 4-23-81600-8101 for water improvements.
All right, to establish this fund for these grants, do we have a motion to do that?
So moved.
Ms. Agnew made a motion. Mark it there so I can keep up with it. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Hood, second. Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. A lot on our agenda today, but we're moving pretty well, so. Now, next item is the appointments. Ms. Taylor, if you would.
You have one appointment to make to the Social Services Board. You have one applicant, Jennifer Frazier. It's on your tablet.
Or do we have any nomination for the Social Services Board?
I'll nominate Jennifer Frazier. She has worked in the school system for years and is over the secondary. She's secondary supervisor, cafeteria supervisor, and has dealt with kids for years. So she's a good fit for this position.
She also served with Selma and I on the applicant board, so you know she's good to have. So, anyway, any other nominations?
Making motion nomination cease and vote by acclamation.
All right, have a motion on it. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Jeter, second. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
You have two appointments to make to the Economic Development Authority. You
Okay.
have three applicants. Roger Frazier and Brad Bowen have been serving. They both reapplied. And you
Okay.
also have an application from Timothy Edwards.
Okay. Well, the first one, Economic Development Authority, we'll do them separately. Do we have any nomination for the first position?
I'll nominate Roger Frazier.
Any other nominations?
I'll make a motion nomination cease and vote by acclamation.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Agnew, second. Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The next one, EDA Board, Mr. Edwards had applied and Mr. Brad Bowen had applied. So do we have any nominations for that position?
Brad Bowen.
Any other nominations?
Motion and nomination cease and vote by acclamation.
All right, we have a motion, nomination cease, vote by acclamation. You put that form of a motion, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Jeter, second. Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So motion carried. Next item is the Trailblazers Board, Ms. Taylor.
You have one appointment to make to the Trailblazers Board. Eddie Skeen has been serving and he did reapply.
Are there any nominations for the Trailblazers Board?
I'll nominate Mr. Skeens, Eddie Skeens.
Any other nominations?
I'll make a motion nomination cease and vote by acclamation.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Hearn, second. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I don't know how many people that we appoint to these boards. I mean, in the boards we serve on, it's a huge number. And I got criticized on social media because somebody had a Facebook issue with somebody and criticized me because we put them on the board. Do we need to put people on Facebook and make sure everybody approves them? You know, I couldn't believe it. I mean, that people would have an issue because they had a Facebook issue with somebody, and then we put them on a board. Why would you do that? You know, so, and this might not be the place to say it, but I said, yeah, it infuriates me. And I don't know how many people we put on boards. That we need to run them through social media, make
Yeah.
sure nobody's had a problem with them.
We need to put that
Yeah.
blanket on there, you know, are they acceptable to Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
So they got a Facebook problem, so we put them on the board. Well, you should do it because we have a Facebook problem. I don't know. It gets frustrating sometimes. Even the boards that we serve on here, many boards, Frida, Bill, I mean, we put people on these boards and then, you know, the committees and stuff, and then,
Got a recommendation, spend less time on Facebook.
well, we do a lot of church stuff on there. We get a lot of stuff on there. So it's a lot of good stuff too, but still, it's just, sometimes you sit back and you just, well, you know, we need to run it on Facebook. Let's do social media, make sure nobody has a problem with this person. And so, all right, enough of that. I just had to throw it in. I don't know. I'll probably criticize for saying that. All right, Ms. Kay, anything?
I don't have
You'll
any,
be on Facebook.
It'll be on, it's on YouTube already, but you don't have anything to
I
say?
don't have anything. I
Okay.
did answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Kay?
Thank you for what you do, so I appreciate you.
All right, next item is our county administrator claims. Ms. Starnes, if you would.
This was a big one. So early claims for the month total $277,438.24. You can see there on the list, the biggest one was the building purchase. The check was to Carico Law Office that handled that closing for us. So again, early claims, $272,438.24.
Okay.
Current claims, the regional jail was the big one. We had held off the second quarter payment until this month because of tax collection where we were getting low on our fund balance. So that check is $723,569.97. Scott County Firefighters Association, $126,001.02. And Lonesome Pine Regional Library for the third quarter, $50,762.50. And Duckville Fire and Rescue, their second allocation, and I believe the final one for them for this fiscal year was $73,514.14. So that's some of the bigger claims for the month. Total current claims, $1,161,873.40, and when you add that with the early, total claims to be approved today is $1,434,311.64.
But it's the biggest number I've ever seen. I know the regional jail, it's more because the reason you stated, but probably the most we ever paid in 1 month.
What was that Scott County Economic Development Authority that says rent?
That's where the health department pays rent into the county, then EDA asks for that and we transfer it out to them because they get the rent for the building. So it's just a money transfer.
Okay, I didn't know.
But it's still a check, so it's why it's listed as claims. If you see any others you got questions on, just let me know.
Freightliner of Arizona.
Packer truck repairs.
Yeah, when you see that SCP-18, that means Scott County Packer truck, and it's our year model 18.
Cost $73,000.
How much?
No,
80,000.
Oh, I'm on the wrong line.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Daryl's having a contact over there.
I'm on the wrong
We're
line.
not there quite yet.
I was on the wrong line, sorry.
Knock on wood, because we're getting there.
Something we're looking at, and we've looked at some other places, going to a different way to do the trash. And I don't know where that's going to shake out at, but going to getting away from these kind of trucks. And anyway, we'll see what happens down the road with that. I don't know. It's all about what it's going to cost, but hopefully we'll do something with that eventually and do something different. Those trucks, there's so many things on them to tear up, and the newer ones more problem with them than are the old ones.
Yeah, the new DEF regulations and all the computer is complicated and wears us out. It's hard to keep one going for a month before some relay or some issue with the DEF happens. And it's across the industry. You can get on forums and read about it. Everybody's having trouble with Packer trucks.
I know we're a little lower this time, according to the chart. That's where we were at, and I guess a lot of that was because, or attributed to collection of taxes and so forth. But hopefully the people can see and realize, we have to pay bills too.
Yes.
And a lot of that's up front, and I guess the $723,000 just didn't have those funds, I guess, available to do that.
Right, we got down to around $2 million,
Right.
so I bumped it we would have normally paid that in November. But
And I think that needs
it.
to be said because, we don't want to get down very, very low. And,
Well, they're probably still going through the mail back there. We mailed ours in, when we first got our taxes, and it hasn't been cashed yet, so.
so hopefully
anyway,
next quarter will be.
we should see it.
Well, the change in the deadline affected it as
It did.
well,
Right.
because in previous years,
Right.
you would be seeing everybody collected here that come into the office, but once you change that deadline, it hit the brakes.
It really slowed down.
Yeah, because you went from collecting $600,000 a day, you could see the deposits, and then the Friday after you changed the deadline, it was a $70,000 deposit. So, I mean, that really affected how people were coming in to pay in person.
Bills do not stop here.
All right, the total amount is $1,434,311.64. Do we have a motion to pay the bill?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Tipton made a motion. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second.
Ms. Hood, second. Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the budget subcommittee, and Ms. Arnold.
This is what we spoke about a little bit earlier. We would like to form a budget subcommittee that will report to the budget committee once that committee is established, probably at the February or March meeting this year. Jeremy has agreed or offered to volunteer, and we think one more board member would be good to have on that committee as well. It'll look at the needs of public safety, fire, and EMS, and do recommendations for the budget committee to be incorporated into fiscal year 24's budget.
Whoever would serve on this probably would be on the budget committee.
Correct.
I don't mind serving with, and not to get out of the budget committee process, but I don't mind serving with Jeremy on that if you, unless the last wants to do it, anybody else that might want to do it.
I said you graciously volunteered.
Well, I mean, you know, I just, maybe I'm trying to get out of the budget committee.
You and Selma will be in your second year of capital improvement, but that shouldn't be a conflict with this committee.
All right.
Just the budget committee, you wouldn't want the same people.
Right, okay.
Okay.
That'll work then with me being on with Jeremy.
Okay, so we'll work on that going forward.
All right. Miscellaneous, anything in it?
Not that I can think of right off.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Dishman is here, report from the Public Service Authority. You're right on time.
Okay, good. Sorry, I was late. Hello, everybody.
How you doing?
Good. Hey, y'all okay? Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Good to be here.
Your report should be in your extra packet. Is that correct?
Yeah, thanks, Tina.
I saw it there somewhere.
Right in there. I just gave you a construction project report this time. If you have any questions about anything else, I'll try to answer those.
What about the Fort Blackmore on the Harris Valley?
Yeah, so
Let's talk about that.
project's funded and under construction. Daniel Boone, the main part is done. I'll get to your question here in a second.
Okay.
We do have plans and funding to go across the railroad tracks at a couple of places. One of those is at Trinity Bell Church, serve about 10 or 12 homes. It's held up by an easement issue. The property owner will not give us an easement.
Property owner of the railroad.
Property owner. We have a railroad permit. Property owner will not give us an easement. It's going to prevent all those folks, except for the church, from getting sewer service. We've done all that we can so far. I mean, we've done all we can without condemnation.
Any way you could cross somewhere else, Mike?
Now, there is no other way to serve those folks.
What is the reason? Are they just don't want it, or are they asking for money, or what?
No, they haven't asked for money. Don't know.
Just won't sign an easement.
I guess it's they won't sign an easement. They just don't want to give an easement.
Well, okay.
Does it help, or would it help if someone else goes out and chats with them?
You mean sweeter than I am?
I don't know about that.
No, we got people sweeter than you.
Yeah. He fell right into that one.
I say, look.
Wouldn't be hard to do.
I mean, they're right here. I looked at them right here.
Saying she's sweeter than I am is not a big compliment. But of course, no, we're open to any suggestions, but, you know, we've talked to his attorney and we've talked to them many times. We've thought they were ready to sign, but, there's issues, but it's not with the PSA.
Mad at his neighbors.
I don't know how much I can say here.
Yeah.
I don't think I can say a whole lot.
Let's not go down that road. I don't want to know.
Read between the lines, go ahead.
I'll talk to you one at a time, and I can, or is it three at a time? Two at a time. I'll talk to you two at a time. But on the plus side, the majority of the Daniel Bennett Sewer project is done. We did have another easement issue that prevented us from serving some folks on the right side going up, and that gentleman did relent and signed the easement, and so they're in the process. Contractors in the process of going back and putting that in. They did patch the road. I understand they did a good job fixing the road up through there where they had to cross several places. And people are in the process of connecting their homes and businesses to the sewer system. So we hope to be able to do on the other side of the railroad tracks. Because, you know, we had to go back and get extra funding for that. You know, we do have the railroad permits. So Black Gum Lane, that you're very familiar with, all those folks are connected. There is a temporary pump control system. The subcontractor is still waiting on their electronic controls and various things to go back and construct that according to the approved plans, but it is in with VDH's approval, so those folks are connected. It's not so once they get everything in, it'll be great. So it's borderline now, it's marginal, but it is working. And I won't read all these things to you, but the Nicholasville wastewater plant is being upgraded or improved right now. So Robinette Valley, and Hunters Valley West. The Robinette Valley portion is a contractor job, and he was to mobilize last week. So there's been a delay in him starting, but that was his prerogative. So he got the contract, so he was to start mobilizing last week.
I still get calls about Robinette Valley.
Oh, yes. So it's taken a long time. So
Same thing with Hunters Valley.
Hunters Valley West is our crew doing it. And unfortunately, although we mobilized in October up there, we didn't get to lay much pipe. It's just an issue of having other higher priority work
As in?
for our staff to do. And it's, you know what happens at the end of the year with leave, and so we've been short on crew.
Y'all done that in-house?
2 months.
That project?
That one's in-house.
Okay, that's
In
what I
order to do it with the funding we got, we're doing it in-house. But we'll get back to it. It is a top priority. Our crew, once our crew gets back, and we have a complete crew, because, you know, when you only have half a crew, you have to take care of maintenance and repairs to keep existing customers in service. And but we will get back to that in January, and well, hopefully in December, but I don't see it happening in December.
So when did this project start?
Well,
I'm just
I
confirming.
mean, this project was funded several years ago. We just got materials in the past few months.
Because, I mean, I'm getting a lot of questions about that, because they saw folks working for 2 days, and
Yeah.
they laid 100 foot of pipe, and that was in October.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just concerned.
And then we didn't, right. And
Yeah,
I've
and
talked-
then nothing else has happened since.
Right, I've talked to them, and it's for the reasons I just said, just
You
not
saw it on
having
Facebook
enough,
too, didn't you?
not having enough crew
People
to
fussing.
do the job. Not having enough crew that are not on leave.
Have you had a staff reduction, or?
Nope, this happens, pretty much every year. We have a process where we have approved leave, months in advance, so that we have enough people, there, but, you know, you got employees who don't want to lose their vacation leave at the end of the year, and so they're gonna take it, and
So
there's.
you let them all off at one time? That's what, I mean, is that kind of?
No, but if you have 12, I mean, a crew of 12 and 4 are off and 2 are running for the office and they're doing various things, you need five or 6 up there to actually lay pipe. So
Okay. I would just,
it's been a shortage of staff.
Okay, I mean, I just, I know for me personally, if I'm needed at my job, irregardless if I'm gonna lose my vacation or not, I can't take off if I'm needed. And if it's gonna impair the ability of my office to do their job.
Right.
You can decline vacation, it's not that's a perk.
Right.
I mean, just because it's there doesn't necessarily, there's things that have to happen, and I get that. I just.
Right.
It's a business world.
It is, it's a business world. I mean,
What's expected
you
from
want to
business
be able to do,
people.
right. you
Well,
want
does
to
the
be able
county
to do-
deny people taking their vacations?
Not normally,
Right.
unless there's a
It's different,
extenuating
yeah.
It's business.
It's different.
I mean, in the
Circumstance.
corporate
I worked for
world.
for 20 years,
Right.
I know how it works. It's different.
Right.
Yeah.
Where our
Yeah,
priority
you're
is
sure.
keeping people in water and sewer, so there's no question. We're gonna staff our plants and we're gonna repair leaks. And we're gonna have the staff to do that.
Okay.
But for constructing new water lines, at least my board hasn't authorized me to deny people leave.
Well, the biggest thing, Mike, is the poor availability. And you pointed it out here, the poor availability of materials, and that's plagued us.
That's what held this up for months. And then when we got the materials, we didn't have the staff. And this also has to do with our other work. They have a lot of other things to do besides like pipe. But it's a priority. We're going to do it.
Okay.
Once we can get up there, it'll go pretty quickly.
Okay.
And you'll see we have a lot of other construction work for that crew to do as well. And I can't say enough good about that crew. They are excellent at what they do, not just maintenance and repairs, but constructing new water lines. Let's see, we're fixing to start an improvement project at the town of Nicholsville. So that will move up into Part A soon. And as Mr. McCarty covered in the paper, thankfully, today, good article. The Nicholsville Phase 2 wastewater improvement project was funded. And that's to make improvements to 3 sewage pump stations in the town. Multi-community Phase 1, that's is getting ready to start. We're waiting on materials for that. We just awarded bids, contract for materials, so we're waiting on those materials. That'll extend the water out and Good Cooper and Phelan Hollow, and our crew is laying that as well. So And we're getting ready to award bids to the Duffield wastewater plant improvement project, second phase. The sewer project for Yuma and Hilton's, it has been delayed by easement acquisition. Like I made my public appeal last time, there's just a handful of easements. Lack of those can delay a major project, and that's what's happened in this case. And then we ran into the pandemic and the inflation and the shortage of materials. So we're faced with a budget shortfall and having to apply to DEQ for.
Do you foresee any issues with that being able to get that?
Being able to get that funding, we had a teleconference with DEQ in Richmond, the lady in charge of that program, and we were encouraged that we could get that additional funding, but there's no guarantees.
I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's in the spring when those applications are due, or when they accept them. I mean, we've been ready to apply for months, but they are not accepting them until next year. We're replacing more water mains in galvanized water mains in Weber City, and we're working on the plans for the Central Scott project in the phase 1 that extends water through Snowflake and up Big Moxon Road and then up Corn Ridge and interconnecting with the town of Nicholasville. The engineers are working on plans for those. Both our engineering firms are working on that.
Do you know how far up Big Moxon that's gonna go? I know
It doesn't go as far as we'd like, doesn't go as far as we need to go, but it goes a mile or two. I don't know exactly. I've seen it on a map, but
there was a lady called me about a month ago or so. And
Cindy?
I wasn't gonna mention
Well,
her
I talked
name.
to Cindy and
But she told me to get on to you.
well, that's good because, you know, they need to get on to me. But I talked to, unfortunately, this first phase is not gonna reach her, I don't believe. The money only goes so far.
A mile would probably be the second bridge or Big Moxon.
And it's really soft ground up there.
Is it?
No.
Oh, really?
No, you've been
I
up
started
there,
saying it's
right?
all rock.
Exactly. It's just solid rock,
Yeah,
so it's expensive.
yeah.
I talked to Mr. Minton about the
Kevin was asking me to ask you,
top of
the
Corn
tank
Ridge.
site.
He said he can't even get that boy to answer his phone.
Okay.
But now on the other side of the road, you can talk to Randy Gilmer or Johnny Gilmer.
Okay,
Johnny's on the right, Randy Gilmer's on the left
okay.
for a site there. But Hanson, I talked to him here a couple of weeks ago again. And I said, well, have you done any good? He said, I can't get him to answer his phone.
Okay, so it's not just us.
No.
My project between, it says Clinch Mountain and Clinch River, that's going through Midway, is that what that's talking about?
Yeah, so the total Central Scott project is that big area. So phase 1 is just to Nicholsville and then out Big Moxon Road, and then phase 2A, which is down here, and the part C on the last page is the other areas. So, let's
Yeah, I see it there now.
So we got funding for, these are all projects that have been funded or are being worked on. So phase 2 Cliff Mountain is funded, I think.
So we're just waiting for materials for that?
For-
The Upper Cliff Mountain, waiting for materials to get started on that? So we have the money?
No, that is in the paperwork phase, I guess. We haven't awarded a contract yet.
Contractor, okay.
We haven't bid it out yet.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so we need a
But
contractor.
I think we've gotten taken care of all the
We
paperwork.
should have everything done now.
Yeah.
After today, they ratified some things.
So it's in, the engineers are working on the plans. They've done a lot on it already, so.
My question was along 72.
Yes, sir.
Toward Midway.
Yep, last page, Central Scott phase 2A and 2B. So 2B is the one you're talking about. 2A is the ridge tops up above.
Well, that's Manville, but it's not.
Manville.
Okay, I see the
And-
Midway mark, okay.
And we hadn't got, we haven't got funding for that. We have applied for funding for Phase 2A. Phase 2B, we have applied, and we're working with rural development right now to get that funded. It's very expensive. Yeah, there's pretty detailed directions there on where to.
Did I see it there now?
Yeah.
Good luck getting across Copper Creek.
Yes, right.
Do you ever do like lines connected to bridges instead of going
Yeah,
through streams of water?
It's difficult. We got one approved before, and it's difficult to get approval, but we try, every chance.
Yeah. I studied. I'm becoming an expert on water systems.
Uh-huh.
How are you?
I actually took
Oh,
a little
oh, oh,
online
call you
class about how to do it and all this.
Yep.
So I know a lot about water. I need to be the chair of the water department.
Yeah, if they don't, well, would you give me a chance to retire first?
You don't want me as your chair?
Oh, I thought you wanted one more job.
No, I'm talking about being a chair of the water department.
I didn't mean that.
I'm a tough
No,
chair.
I didn't mean
chair.
I wanted to retire before you got on our board.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
Wanted to retire what I missed there.
I thought you were trying to send me to the farm, huh?
No, we do well as long as you do what I told you.
Somebody can.
Let me ask you one question again. On under C2, the Phase 2B
Yes, sir.
that comes down by Midway Market, will that come across Copper Creek and up the bluff, or will those people up there get their water from the Highway 71 project, which is on the page before? If you go out here to where 72 and 71 intersect,
I don't think it crosses, wait a minute now, that's, I'm thinking of the clinch.
okay, Danny just asked about, I'm lost here now.
Okay, so 71 is Nicholsville Highway and Twin Springs Road. That's up near the town, up near Nicholsville.
Yes.
Right? And
Okay.
then,
What we're talking about is the Central Scott Water Project 2B
right, so you're asking how far up 72 does the water line
from
go?
71. That's what I'm asking. Will it come off of 71 up to the top?
It
of the
will come
bluff?
off of 71 and go north on 72.
Okay, so it won't go across Copper Creek then?
I don't
It would have
think
to.
so.
Not if it comes from 71, it goes up 72 to the top of the bluff.
It's just gonna cross Copper Creek.
I don't
Well,
know.
that second
I'll
part.
have to find out.
There's
for
no
you.
houses.
Yeah, cross it somewhere.
We would avoid crossing Copper Creek.
If you come up from 71 and went to the top of the bluff,
Yeah,
from there on down, there's no houses, it's bluff. And then you've got Copper Creek, which will come down from 71 project, 70, Twin Springs. See what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Up at Midway Market.
yeah.
I don't know that that's section.
I don't think it does, but I'll verify that.
All right.
I just wondered where it was coming from to go up 72.
And then there's several other projects, 3 of them, which I've listed that will.
Talking about going to Twin Springs, would it be going up 72 to Twin Springs, or would it go up 71 at Nicholsville and then go to Twin Springs?
71 Nicholsville and then left on Twin Springs Road.
Okay. Well, so you could go to Twin Springs up 72.
It doesn't go that way. It
Have to go
doesn't go
across
that
Copper
way.
Creek.
Yeah. So we pick up the high school, and that, the school board really likes that. 'Cause they have a private water system now.
When all this is completed, I'm not trying to get you to put a date on it because you have no idea, I know that. What's the percentage of the people in Scott County will have water available?
Have it available.
Yeah,
Once we get all these
Yeah.
that are even not funded,
yeah. I'm just curious.
yeah, I'm gonna guess 80%.
Okay.
All right.
We've got a lot of needs for water in Scott County with the
Yep.
contaminated springs
Yep.
and then the drought with springs drying up, as you and I have talked about, a couple places, but, also sewer, but I mean, I think, the county needs to address the water first, but then there is a sewer problem. Not far from my house, you can smell like in the ditch, I mean. the
Sewer is extremely expensive.
I know.
So, and there's not a lot of areas that have the concentration of homes that can make it affordable. Hilton's and Yuma are two of them and Daniel Boone do have a concentration of homes. So, money will solve the problem. We have the wherewithal to do it, but money will solve the problem. And we have unfortunately missed a grand opportunity, no fault of our own, mostly, in the ARPA funds. So the state had $50 million, I believe, in ARPA funds, the first round, and rather than open it up for applications and informing the waterworks that they had available and invite us to apply, they handpicked recipients. And they gave it to places like Washington County for projects that, for example, one had 34 signed users along Mendota Road, 34 signed users for this project, and they were awarded over $5 million. Well, why don't you do the math? It's $160-some thousand per home for a water line extension. We got $600,000 after I raised Cain. They threw us a bone, and we got $600,000 for Robinette Valley. That's not all they gave Washington County, and it's just as bad in another area. But I have fussed and questioned their wisdom and the process. And now they have a second round of ARPA funding from Richmond for water systems. But now they've decided they gave too much in Southwest Virginia the first round. Well, they wasted it, is what they did, frankly. Because if they had given us $5 million, we could have really served a lot of people. But now they're not going to give any more to Southwest Virginia in the second round. It's going to other parts of the state.
Just keep raising Cain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we all, and I've talked to the delegate, but it's very disappointing. But we needed that. We needed that money. And I understand county, it's limited. There are a lot of requests for funding for their ARPA money, but and it wouldn't have gone as near as far as that money from Richmond would have gone. But we didn't get any ARPA money except the $600,000.
Speaking of money, I went to a seminar, I guess it was last year, latter part of the year. But there was a presentation about funding for rural areas from a health standpoint for water, but mainly sewage. And I can't remember if it was federal. I'm going to look that up and I'll let you know about that, because that might be something. If it's federal, do we ever get any federal funding?
Rural Development, USDA is our primary funding agency.
For the
for water and sewer.
Federal.
Yes.
May just add quickly, while the Central Scott came about, Jeremy had just mentioned about what percentage, we would be at, and I think this kind of plays a role into that.
Yes.
Getting out to the hard to reach areas and sort of putting several, packages together to get funding.
Yes.
Is why that came about.
Yes. And so it gets very expensive.
Right.
The further we go, because the
hard to reach areas.
Yeah, low concentration of
Right,
homes.
low concentration.
And you go a lot of distance to serve one house, and so those I want to be realistic with you. The Central Scott, both of those projects are extremely expensive now. But then you look at what they spent in Washington County, $167,000 a house. We're not talking about anything like that to fund those projects. I just don't think it makes sense to run water, spend more than even the property or the home is worth to. I don't understand it, but hey, if they want to give us the money, we'll take it. And we'll use it to provide water to the people that need it.
All right.
And, whatever we can do to speed these things up, we do them. Do it. It's been tough, like, past couple of years with inflation and materials.
I appreciate your keeping us informed. I like these reports, put it down here in
Okay.
writing, and it's good. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank y'all. Anything you need, anything you want me to provide differently for you, if you ever have any questions, holler at me, call me, email me, come see me.
Appreciate it.
Good report, man.
Yeah.
Have a holly jolly Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
You too.
Well,
See you.
All right, comments, requests, recommendations. Mr. Jeter.
Just like to thank the staff for all the work they do. Everything goes
Certainly,
smooth.
no.
And everybody have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Mr. Tipton.
I would just echo the same thing. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Happy, prosperous New Year. There'll be a lot of challenges facing us in the year to come, but the good Lord will help us through it. So.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Herron.
Appreciate what everybody does. Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Bricky.
Merry Christmas to everyone, and stay away from people. This is a flu hotspot, they say, so we gotta stay healthy.
Yes, it is. All right, that's it.
On VDOT, I live on an unpaved road, and so I know, the challenges of living on an unpaved road. And I know all about my road, 624. I know what it connects with. I know a lot about a lot of the roads around me because, all my life I've been there. But I used to spend every day contacting VDOT. And when they ask us to give the number for people to call, it cut down a lot on my sending emails, calling. So that's what I do now. And VDOT is a state agency. It's a department of the state, and we don't have anything to do with it. We do have the opportunity to put a road on the 6-year plan sometime from each district. But as far as, we're not state employees, we're county. And on Facebook, my Facebook profile is private. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm supervisor. Now, sometimes people who kind of know me will send me a friend's request and they immediately send me a message, because if you're not my friend, you can't send me a message about county issues. I don't answer them. I don't use my personal computer for county business. I have another, I use an iPad for county business. I don't use it for personal. So, and I don't get into discussions on Facebook about county issues. You can call me, or you can get my email address from the county website and contact me. I'll get back with you. I won't carry on an argument with you or whatever. I will address whatever you ask me, and then that's it. But I just wanted to say that because I have had to go through and delete people in Facebook because I made a mistake when I was elected accepting friend requests from people who lived in my district. But since then, I had a person go through and look at people that don't communicate with me or people that I don't know, and they've been deleted, and they're going to do another round and get rid of people because I just don't need you sending me county information through my personal messenger. That's for my family and my close friends. And now, a happy thing, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Addington?
Well, I don't know how I followed that one up. I do have a couple of things I do want us to chit chat about real quick. I was contacted by a concerned citizen on coyotes in the county and wanted to know about the county being able to do, I know a couple years ago, it's been more than a couple, they did do a bounty on coyotes. And I think Bill has some more information that he could maybe share if you don't care to. Pretty please.
She mentioned this the other day, and Ms. Kegley looked into the old ordinance about the coyote bounty and what that involved in the county. A few things that I have found. One is that the USDA Wildlife Services based in Christiansburg has a program that's available to landowner, a farmer, if they're having a extreme predation problem on their farm, they're losing a lot of calves, a lot of sheep, what have you, they'll actually send a crew out to the farm, assess the situation, use different methods to mitigate the problem coyotes, and then educate the landowner about preventative methods. So it's a good resource for farmers. You can contact them at the USDA office, Wildlife Services. Did a little more research on what a coyote bounty has done in the past for different localities, checked with the extension office, and their professors at Tech, their research shows that a bounty necessarily doesn't reduce the coyote population. It's kind of like osmosis. You take them out here, it just filters back in. Our coyote population is here to stay, and you know, landowners have the opportunity to manage themselves. You can hunt coyote 7 days a week, 24/7 all year long by any legal method. So you can do that. Well, one thing, I've got a background in wildlife fisheries management, and one thing I've read is that you have to be careful about removing coyotes from your land. A family of coyotes will have about from 1,500 acres to 5,000 acre range in our area. And if you have a family of coyotes on your farm and they're not doing extreme predation and bothering anything, the best thing you can do is leave them there. Because if you remove that family that's not bothering anything, you open up a void that other rogue coyotes, especially yearling males that have been run out of their family group, will come into that area and they may start killing stuff. So it's just you can look at and that's pretty much the consensus about the dynamics of coyote population. So if you're hearing that coyote on your land, it's probably an individual, about 10 in a family group, male and female, and that yearling pups, and you're hearing them, but you don't have the predation problem, that might be a good thing, because when the other coyotes hear them, they're staying out of that area. Some things that USDA might do, they may come in and kill a problem coyote. If you have a problem, you need to take care of that coyote. But there's also, you can mimic that yelping and that sound that a family would do about their territory and fool other coyotes to stay off your farm, and things like that. So there's a lot of good information that USDA has. A bounty, also, when we had the bounty before, people would bring it to the landfill. At that time, we were burying trash at the landfill. Now we're transporting, and we're limited to the number of carcasses that we can take at any given time. They don't want us to have more than one cow, like in one of those semi-trailers. If we have more than that, they won't take it, the landfill that we haul to in Bluffville. So we may, if we got 1 or 2 coyotes a day, that might not be a problem. But if somebody showed up with 20 or more, I don't know what we do with it. It could be, that's a variable that we couldn't control and have anything to do with.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anything else to say?
I do have one more thing. I do want to mention that, actually, I'm not going to mention that. I'm just going to let that go. I'd like to thank the staff and everybody for helping us this whole year. I mean, this has been a very trying year. This has been a very very hard working year. I don't know how else to say that. We've done a lot of good things, I think. Very thankful for my, for my relationships with each one of you. I'm very thankful for the knowledge and everything that each one of you has shared with me over the last 3 years and going into our last year here. I appreciate you all and hope you all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, man. Do you have something else, Mr. Tippett?
I just forgot to mention, Jeff Wilson from VDOT had called me this morning. He wants to meet, and I'm glad that he's reached out so we can deal with some of the issues that are in our area on the roads, such as trees that are bending over when they came through and they did the bush hogging of that. It would have been better had they used a sickle mower and got them, because those things are sticking out, and they've actually, cars and trucks have actually hit some of those and it's caused damage. And so we'll talk over some of the issues, and I had failed to mention that. And that's all right.
Okay, thank you. I do want to wish everybody Merry Christmas. One thing has been a trying year for us. The staff here, what they've gone through this year, what we've put on commissioner revenue, the treasurer's office, with all the issues we've had, it's been a tough year, but it's probably been tougher on the folks that are getting paid to be here. I mean, we get paid a little bit to be here, but our staff, we really had to call on you this year and it's been tough. It has. And thank you for that. All of you have a very, very Merry Christmas, and thank you all for what you do. One quick thing, they're putting the internet system in Dungannon as we speak. My yard been full of people drilling holes, setting poles. They were there even last night cutting brush. It's dark and they were still cutting, getting stuff in. So it is happening, and so it's a slow process to get it done, but they're putting it in. Also, the power company are setting new poles. I don't know what's going on with that. They're putting lines in and stuff. So a lot's coming in. A lot of infrastructure is coming into the county and that part of it. And so there, where the heart of our story is, I bet this morning I probably counted 15, 20 service trucks there, bucket trucks, was doing all this work. So there is things happening, especially in that area. But we'll be going the whole county eventually. The internet will, this fiber optic. So the things are happening here in our county. Anyway, we have a couple items. Anything else before we go on? A couple items for closed session. We have 2. So I need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Let me just close so I can read it. And we'll, on a motion by Mr. Jeter and second by Mr. Bricky. Let me put my specs on so I can just kind of smile and read this. This board hereby is entered to closed session pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711, 1 being personnel and 2 being real estate here in Gate City. So that are the 2 items, and the personnel would be for our county administrator and our county attorney. So with that, we need a motion to go into closed session for those 2 items. We have a motion, need a vote. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So with that, we will go into closed session.